Hey, what's good, my people? Thanks for hopping in the car with Christian Addiction Recovery, the channel where like-minded individuals that face similar struggles can come to learn and discuss new ways to live the best life possible and overall become the best versions of ourselves. Real quick, I wanted to touch on something. I don't share about the stories about the people that have hurt me and abused me, or my stories about my addiction and things like that to blame anybody, and I'm not trying to spin some woe is me tale about look how hard my life was. The point of telling you is so that you can know that if I can do it, you can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Okay? I was depressed. I had both depression and addiction going for me. And after my life fell apart, this last time that it actually did, I really didn't want to live anymore. I wasn't necessarily overtly trying to take my life, but I was trying not to live anymore. And when I almost lost my life, my parents offered rehabilitation. And I really hung my head and accepted. Even though my life was completely in shambles and I hadn't been able to get anything right for decades, it seemed, except for my beautiful children. I did seem to get that right. I just felt like going to rehabilitation was like the ultimate defeat. That's why I never really wanted to go. And I thought it was the weakest thing that I'd ever done. And actually, it was probably the strongest thing I'd ever done, because it's when we admit that we can't do it on our own that God can really help us. And the more I realized I didn't have these basic life skills, the more I admitted to myself that I needed to practice things like waiting and detachment and setting boundaries and all of the things that we talk about on this channel. And probably the two that had the greatest impact on my life was, of course, the mindfulness practices, which I talk about a lot, but it's in the gratitude that really starts to change the chemicals in your brain and the way they operate. You see, mindfulness practices help you regain and strengthen the ability for you to focus on what you're trying to focus on. But if you keep placing your attention on all the negative things in your life that are attached to all the negative emotion in your life, well, then it really doesn't do any good, does it? And that's where gratitude comes in. Gratitude, and this is not a definition that I got, this is just something that I've obtained here and there. And it's the practice of taking time to be intentional about being aware of what you're grateful for. Now, there's a good chance if you're listening to this video that you've been dealing with depression and addiction, so your brain may be locked into some old neural pathways that really just don't have much gratitude, right? And that's the point of the practice. Again, so I really believe that mindfulness needs to be practiced alongside of gratitude practices, okay? Because as you are practicing mindfulness and you're gaining control of your attention, now you put in the gratitude and focus on the things that you are grateful for. And if you're having trouble finding anything to be grateful for, like even not air in your lungs or things like that, then please go get help. And please go to therapy or a clinic that's going to help you get your meds balanced out, because life is good, okay? It's hard. That's where we were lied to. It is hard, but it is good. And so take it from someone that's had some tough times in their life. You don't know how good you have it. But when you start focusing on what you have good in your life, then the bad things get out of focus and they fade off into the background. And again, here's one thing that we can all be grateful for: the fact that we are still standing. God made a beautiful creation when He made us, and then He put His spirit in us, His consciousness into mankind. And the fact is that He has made a creation that is more resilient than anything else on the planet. And if you're not to a place of journaling yet, I get that, because it took me about a year after getting out of rehab before I was really ready mentally to start writing down all my thoughts. Here's two practices that can really help you in your attitude of gratitude. And the first one is a meditation that I've been doing before bed, and it's really ingrained into my thinking now. And that is to think about 3 things that you're grateful for before you go to bed, and really put some thought into them and recall some of the details and the way they made you feel and things of that sort. Now, another practice that you could put in tandem with that I really like is when you're getting up in the morning. recall something from the day before that you were grateful for. And it could always be one of the 3 things that were on your list when you went to bed the night before. But really call that back to memory, and again, put some attention on the details and the way that it made you feel. And it's just going to be able to lock that good memory into your thought process, right? And the more that we can do that, the more that we can just stack up all these things that we're grateful for. And like I said, we can just open our eyes one day and realize that there's just lit up with all these things that we're grateful for, and we can't even see the things that we're ungrateful for. And I like this morning practice because it can easily transition when you're ready to start journaling. You'll already have practice recalling something from the day before that you're grateful for, and when you start writing it down in the morning, it's really going to benefit you throughout the day. And the reason why is because when you express gratitude, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin. All right. When I found that out, I was like, okay, so dopamine and serotonin are the 2 chemicals that get released when you do drugs. Depending on the drug, some more dopamine, some more serotonin. And that's when it clicked why I had become so happy over this last year and a half. Because I had been so thankful that I just made it to where I was, that I had been given this last chance to get it right. And I was just so happy and so thankful that I didn't know this, but my brain was just pumping out all the drug chemicals. So I just went straight from being addicted to drugs and being addicted to depression and those types of things, straight into being addicted to gratitude. And because I've become so thankful for everything in my life, more serotonin and more dopamine is released, which makes me even more grateful for the small things even in my life, which then releases more dopamine and serotonin. And so I am just understanding why I feel like I'm the happiest person on earth. Now, where mindfulness and gratitude really come together to help you, especially when you're struggling, is reframing. Okay? Reframing is taking a situation that you normally would see from this perspective and essentially changing the frame to where you're seeing it from a different perspective, right? Might not seem like that big of a deal, but this can really completely transform your reality. I'll just give you a quick example that I thought about earlier today. Let's say that you have to wake up at 5 o'clock every morning to get to a job that by 6 a.m. It's a 30-minute drive. It takes you 30 minutes to get ready. The store doesn't even open till 7, but you have to get there an hour early, okay? So one way to live that existence would be to hate having to get up at 5 o'clock every morning and hate that you have to get to the store an hour before it opens, an hour before you'll ever see a customer, and you can just hate everything about that morning, okay? Well, eventually that's gonna seep into you hating your job, all right? And once you start hating your job, it's real easy for that to start slipping into other areas of your life. So if you're at the park with your kids and they're having a good time and they come up and they say, Daddy, I want to play. Well, if you're hating your job and you're hating having to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you might think to yourself, I'm not going to expend the energy. I have to get up at 5 a.m. and it's just going to make my day even worse if I do that, right? And so you tell your kids, nah, Dad can't play today. And so you miss a golden opportunity to really connect with your children when they actually want to play with you, because I guarantee you when they get older, they're going to be like, get out of my face. Now, same scenario. But instead of you hating the fact that you have to wake up 30 minutes early, you look at it as, God, I thank you that I have this job. I thank you. And then when you're on your way to work in the morning, you're not thinking, I hate that I have to drive 30 minutes and all of this, but you think, man, I'm so grateful that there's no traffic on the road when I'm out. I just have this drive all to myself. I don't have to worry. I can just spend time with you, God. And you might throw on some worship music and just spend your time with God. And you may get to the store an hour early before every customer, but then you realize that like you have a set aside time that you get paid for, that you can actually just study the Bible or spend your time meditating and increasing your mental health, and you're actually getting paid for it. And then consequently, you really enjoy your job. You love the fact that you have no traffic and all this time with God, right? And so now you're at the park and your kids come running up and they say, Dad, I want to play. So instead of thinking, man, I'm going to hate the morning and how bad my job is going to be tomorrow, you go, you know what? I could expend some energy. I'd like to get a little more sleep tonight, sleep a little more sound, right? And so you thank God for that. You thank your kids for the time together. And literally, those two things, just waking up in the morning and being thankful for your job instead of complaining that you have to be there early, can completely affect your reality in two different extremes, in my opinion. The skill of showing gratitude is not only going to release all that dopamine, release all that serotonin, get you to where you actually love your life and enjoy every single thing about it. And if you really love your life, guess what? It could even get better. Guys, mindfulness in conjunction with gratitude practice is going to give you the most phantasmagorically wonderful life, far better than you could have ever imagined. Guys, I hope I've helped shine a new light on gratitude for you, as it is essential in transforming your life, okay? If you're gonna try to become the best version of yourself, do this. Practice mindfulness, do a gratitude journal. Tell me what happens in your life. All right, peace.